This painting right here, it didn't start on the canvas. It started long before I even held a paintbrush. Back when I was a kid, a little guy, trying to make sense of the world that didn't make sense at all. I grew up poor, not tight budget poor, system poor, the kind of poor where you eat whatever shows up. When the welfare check doesn't come in, you go to bed hungry. As a kid, you don't realize you're fasting. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise. You just think you're going to bed hungry. And before the world really sank its claws into me, I remember sitting there, pencil in hand, notebook open, doing the math on life, bills, rent, food, gas, realizing. And this was even right before even I was even old enough to work, that no matter what I did, the math didn't add up. Not unless you played their game, not unless you followed their system, not unless you stood in line begging for approval to exist. Someone gives you a job, or go to the army and hope you make it out. Neither one felt right. But the system whispers, you need the paper, you need the loan. Sign here, you'll owe us forever, ha 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 ha. So like everyone else, I went to the college route. A little technical school, a video and radio program, and an associate's degree that left me in more debt than opportunity, so I thought at the time. And that's when I learned something important. The system just doesn't want just your money, it wants your compliance. Let me tell you what I mean. The child support trap. Obey or we break you. There was a time I fell behind on child support, not because I was irresponsible or didn't care. You know, life happens. I was between jobs, doing everything I could to get back up, and finally landed a decent job. Just 45 minutes away on the highway, and steady pay and benefits. It was stabilizing. It would help me catch up doing exactly what I needed to do. And then, because I was behind, they suspended my license. Think about that. Growing up, I was taught that travel is a right, a God-given freedom to be able to travel. But driver's ed in high school, they told us driving is a privilege. I was thinking to myself, a privilege? The thing you literally need to get to work and pay your bills, especially if you don't live in the city, to pay your bills and support your kids, that's not a privilege, that's a leash. That's the system saying obey or we'll make your life impossible. So now I'm working a job 45 minutes away, and the system leaves me with two choices: break their law and inconvenience people who already have a life, and ask them if they somehow come give me a ride to my job, which isn't going to happen. So you already know what I did. That's right, I drove illegally, not under natural law, of course, but under their law, every single day, risking everything just to be a good father. And if I got caught, jail time. For working, for trying, for being responsible. Now that's not justice. That's a revolving door designed to keep people exactly where they started. Then there was this job that I was going for, and I did get, but it required my degree. It was a really good job. It paid a lot more than any other job I ever had. And I had the degree, I earned it. I went and I sacrificed a lot of time after working all day. I would go and everybody has their struggle, right? The employer reached out and they wanted me to get my diploma from the school, and the school refused. Not because I didn't graduate, not because I didn't earn it, but because I hadn't fully paid off the loan yet. I was in forbearance. I wasn't current on the loan, but I was in forbearance, which means that they forgive you up to a certain amount of time. And here's the part that shocked me. The people offering me the job, they were furious, actually. They were higher up. They were like a government type of place, even though it wasn't a government job that I was getting hired for. There were some important people there. And they picked up on the phone and they tore into the school, and they demanded that they released my diploma to prove that I had actually had the degree. And that's the only reason I got that job. Not because the system worked, but because someone inside the system saw how broken it really was. And that's when I learned something really important. Debt isn't about repayment, it's about control. So fast forward, poor kid grows up, I was a young parent too early, broke until the age of 33. And hear that clearly, because that number mattered for me. 33 was a turning point, the resurrection year, the year everything flipped. YouTube came out of nowhere and changed my entire life. It bought my first home, helped me raise my kids. It gave me freedom, a voice. But the moment you escape the cage and start seeing the cage, and the moment you start making real money, the chains come out. Suddenly, you owe more taxes. Generosity becomes a crime. Helping your family is suspicious. And you have to spend more just to keep more from being taken. So you grow, you scale, you expand. And if you're not careful, you become a slave in a nicer cage. I bought and sold a few houses, worked my ass off, and on the third one, the system reminded me exactly who I was dealing with. A new year hit, midnight struck, and my taxes jumped 140% overnight. You heard me right, 140% overnight. It forced us out of our home while being demonetized online, squeezed from both sides for speaking my mind. You know, when something is coincidence and when it's not, and I had no choice, I had to sell. And for a minute, I felt like a 10-year-old kid again, staring at numbers that didn't make sense. Freedom through losing everything, but then something unexpected happened. I got happier. No mortgage, no trap, no anchor. If a hurricane hits this house, it's not my problem. Suddenly, I wasn't owning anything, and nothing owned me. I became mobile, free, present, and ironically, being pushed out of the system put me back into life. I don't use their medical system, I don't use their pills, I don't use their narrative. Ate clean, I move my body, I travel, I create. And I scare people for a living in a costume that costs less than a college textbook. $50 styrofoam did more for my life than a $30,000 education. Now here we go again. The squeeze is happening online. Every creator feels it. Families in my neighborhood are being pushed out just like I was. Houses being bought by corporations, rented back to the very people who used to own them. And this painting is a symbol. The credit card guillotine, the snowman cuffed to his own loan, the eye in the corner watching, the silent faces behind him, all swallowed by the machine. This is the story of poverty, of awakening, of betrayal, and of breaking out. I'm not a debt slave anymore, I'm a witness, a traveler, and a creator. Losing everything gave me everything I was missing. And here's another trap that you have to be aware of. You're not even allowed to have a bad month. One slow season, one emergency, and suddenly your mailbox is filled with foreclosure threats. You could work 40 years, pay off your home, burn the mortgage in celebration. Miss your property taxes once, and the cities can steal your house, just like you never owned it. Unless you have a cemetery in your land, like a medieval king with a castle and a moat. And honestly, it almost sounds like a flex. Grandpa's resting in the backyard, and he's the only reason the county can kiss my ass and they can't kick us out. But the truth is, you never really own anything, and that's by design. The system tags you in, and tags you while you live, and tags you on the way out. Birth certificate, social security, licenses, permits, fees to exist, fees to stop existing, fees for air on Tuesdays, a fee-fi-fo-fum fee, a fee, a why not fee, you get it fee, and but here's the thing, once you see the trap, you're already halfway out. Once you stop chasing the definition of success and start living your own truth, the system loses its power. A debt slave becomes dangerous the moment he realizes the chains were never made of steel, they were made of belief, and belief can be broken. Maybe the banks own the houses, maybe they own the corporations and they own the neighborhoods. Maybe the government owns the system, but they never own me. They can take a house, not my hunger. They can squeeze a creator, but not my creativity. They can silence a platform, but not a voice. They can take everything I have on paper, but they can't touch the part of me that never belonged to them in the first place. And that's why this painting exists. As long as they keep trying to burn people into debt slaves, I'll keep telling them the truth, brush in one hand and freedom in the other. And if you need to hear this, you might be in the system, but the system is not in you, and that's where your power lives. And sometimes, when I look back at everything I've been through, the poverty, the child support trap, the diploma hostage situation, the 140% tax ambush, the demonetization, the forces move, and I can't help but to ask myself, was this all random or something guiding it? Because here's the thing, if you believe in the puppet master, the hand behind the curtain, the forces that nudge society into place like pieces on a board, then you have to ask, did the puppet master create these hardships to break me or to build me? Were these traps meant to destroy me, or were they the fire designed to forge the steel? Was it cruelty or curriculum? Because I'll be honest with you, every time the system crushed me, I didn't stay crushed. I got sharper, clearer, and more aware, more awake, and more unstoppable. So what does that mean? Does the puppet master use pressure to push some people deeper into the system while it pushes others out of it? Does a trap swallow most people whole but spit a few back out different, stronger, wider awake, more dangerous to the system because they understand it? Or is it all perception? Is the world a mirror and the meaning we assign actually the meaning we create? I don't know. I really don't. But I do know this. If the puppet master is meant to break me, he failed. If he meant to turn me into a debt slave, he woke up a wolf instead. If the obstacles were punishment, they became fuel. If they were cages, they became doorways. If they were meant to silence me, they made my voice louder. Maybe the puppet master pulls strings, maybe he doesn't. Maybe fate places the challenges, maybe I do. But either way, here I am, still standing, still creating, and I'm still free. And there's power in that, because whether the puppet master exists or not, I cut the strings. And once you cut the strings, the puppet master can't touch you. Not anymore. And maybe that's the real secret behind all of this. Maybe the puppet master isn't some figure behind a curtain. Maybe it's the version of you that refuses to break. The part of you that survives every trap, every squeeze, every blindsided moment hit the world tries to throw at you. Maybe the puppet master was never pulling my strings. Maybe he was teaching me how to pull my own. Because once you realize that, once you stop waiting for permission, once you stop waiting for rescue, once you understand that the whole system only works if you believe it does, that's the moment everything shifts. That's the moment the chains turn to dust. That's the moment the cage becomes a doorway. That's the moment the whole world goes quiet because it realizes it can't claim you anymore. And that's the part they never expected. I didn't escape the system, I outgrew it. And that's the mic drop. That's the truth behind this painting. And if you're still listening, maybe you're already starting to outgrow it too.
Oh, hey, you're still here? Thank you, really. It means something when people listen to the end. And if this piece spoke to you, if it made you think about your own journey, your own struggles with the system, your own moments where the math didn't add up, the original painting and the prints are available over on SaatchiArt.com. The links sit in the description for you. And whether you ever buy anything or not, I appreciate you being here, because these stories aren't just mine. They belong to anyone who's ever felt the squeeze, anyone who's ever pushed back, anyone who's ever tried to build a life when the odds were stacked against them. So thank you for your time, your presence, and your attention. Those are 3 things the world is always trying to steal, and you chose to spend them here. Remember, you're not alone in this, and you're not crazy, you're not powerless. You're just waking up. Until next time.